Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you need to warn someone, fast. Something dangerous is coming, but you have no words, no language, no sounds that carry meaning. What do? This is not a thought experiment. For the first several million years of human existence, this was reality. Your ancestors moved through a world full of threats, full of information, full of things that needed to be communicated, with nothing but their bodies, their faces, and the sounds an animal makes when it feels something deeply. And somehow, they survived. More than survived. They organized. They hunted together. They raised children together. They warned each other, found each other, comforted each other, all without a single word. So how did they actually do it? Let's go back further than you might expect. Not 300,000 years, not 500,000 years. Try 6 million years ago. That's roughly when the lineage that would eventually become modern humans split from the lineage that became chimpanzees. At that point, no language, no complex vocalization, just a primate moving through forest with a face and two hands and a body that felt things. The first tool of communication was not the mouth, it was the face. Primatologist Frans de Waal spent decades studying the emotional lives of great apes at research centers across the world. What he found was striking. Chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, they share with humans a core set of facial expressions that appear to be hardwired, not learned, not cultural, biological. The fear grimace. The play face, an open-mouthed, relaxed expression that means, this is not a threat, this is fun. The pout, the stare that signals dominance, the averted gaze that signals submission. These expressions appear in blind humans who have never seen another face. They appear in infants too young to have learned anything from anyone. They are ancient, far older than any word ever spoken. Your face right now, the muscles pulling at the corners of your mouth, the tension or softness around your eyes, is running software that is millions of years old. But faces have limits. A face only works when you can see it. In darkness, in dense forest, across a valley, a face is useless. So your ancestors developed something else, something that could carry further, something that didn't require eye contact, gesture. Anthropologist Michael Corballis, whose research on the origins of language has influenced the field for decades, argued that human language likely began not with sound, but with the hands. His gesture-first theory points to a remarkable body of evidence. Sign languages, which develop spontaneously in deaf communities with no exposure to other sign systems, always develop the same basic grammatical structures. Children who are born deaf and never taught a sign language will spontaneously invent their own gestural communication, with syntax, with consistent meaning, with something that functions exactly like language. The hand, it turns out, may have spoken before the mouth ever did. Think about what gesture can do without any training at all. Point at something, and attention follows. Raise a hand, palm outward, and most people stop. Reach towards someone, and they lean in or pull back. Curl a finger, and someone comes closer. These are not learned behaviors. They are pre-linguistic. They exist before words, underneath words, independent of any particular culture or tongue. Your ancestors used them constantly. But there was still something missing. Gesture requires line of sight, and in the dark, around a fire, inside a cave, in the deep night when threats moved through the grass, neither faces nor hands could carry the message far enough. That's when sound became essential. Not language, not yet sound. The grunts, screams, hoots, and calls of early hominins were not random. Primatologist Robin Dunbar, whose social brain hypothesis changed how scientists think about the evolution of human intelligence, showed that non-human primates use vocalization in highly specific ways. A vervet monkey, for example, produces 3 completely distinct alarm calls: one for eagles, one for snakes, one for leopards. Each call triggers a different survival response in the group. Eagles: look up, dive into bushes. Snakes: stand tall, look down. Leopards: climb the nearest tree immediately. This is not language, but it is not nothing. It is a system, a primitive one, a pre-linguistic one, but a system with structure, with shared meaning, with the ability to save a life from 50 meters away in complete darkness. Your ancestors inherited this system and, slowly, over an enormous span of time, began to expand it. The question researchers have argued about for over a century is this: when did sound become language? When did a grunt become a word? When did a series of sounds stop being a call and start being a sentence? There is no clean answer, because language didn't arrive, it accumulated. Archaeologist and cognitive scientist Francesco D'Errico has spent years analyzing the archaeological record for signs of symbolic thinking, the cognitive prerequisite for true language. What he found at sites like Blombos Cave in South Africa, dating back roughly 75,000 to 100,000 years, were ochre engravings, geometric patterns, deliberately scratched into stone, objects that had been shaped not for survival, but for meaning. If you are making a symbol, you are thinking symbolically. And if you are thinking symbolically, you are very close to language. Very close to the moment when a sound stops being a reaction and starts being a word. Now, here is the part that most people find difficult to believe. Language, true, complex, grammatical language, may be far older than the archaeological record suggests, because language leaves almost no trace. Words are made of air, they vanish. Sentences disappear in seconds. An entire civilization could have spoken for 100,000 years and left nothing behind that a modern archaeologist could find. What we can say with reasonable confidence is this: by 70,000 years ago, when Homo sapiens began their great migration out of Africa and into every corner of the planet, they almost certainly had language, because what they did was impossible without it. They crossed open ocean, they navigated by stars, they coordinated hunts across distances, they passed down technical knowledge across generations, knowledge that could not be demonstrated, only explained. That requires words, that requires sentences, that requires something that had been building slowly for millions of years. From the silent expression on a primate's face, to a pointed finger in firelight, to a sound that meant danger, to a word, to a sentence, to a story told around a fire that would still be remembered by grandchildren who were never there. And here is the thing that makes all of this feel less distant than it should. You are doing it right now. The face you made when you first read that opening question, that slight furrow of the brow, that flicker of curiosity, that response is the same one your ancestors had 6 million years ago when something unfamiliar appeared at the edge of the forest. The gestures you make without thinking when you talk, the hands that move, the head that nods, the body that leans. Those are older than any language you speak. The sound of a voice you trust in the dark, saying, "It's okay," that reaches something in you that no written word ever quite can. Because before there were words, there was still everything that mattered, and your body has never forgotten.